100 million to get lost? My mother-in-law calls me a loser. My sister-in-law says I'm an embarrassment. Fine. I'll be the best damn freeloader they've ever seen. I try to live like a normal guy. I really did. All I got for it was their contempt. All right, I'm done pretending. The Jensen family thinks they're hot stuff. I could crush them before breakfast. My wife's company is about to go under. Let me just toss a couple 100 million in pocket change at it. The moment my cover was blown, the whole world lost its mind. My mother-in-law, my dear son-in-law, maybe I was a little loud before. My sister-in-law, Alex, you gotta show me how to be a boss. The ex-girlfriend who dumped me. Alex, baby, I made a mistake. I just pulled my wife's slim waist a little tighter and smirked. A little late for regrets, don't you think? I was at the kitchen sink, my hands numb from the ice-cold water, scrubbing potatoes, when my mother-in-law, Carol, came storming in. Her heels clicked against the tile like a death knell, sharp enough to punch holes in the floor. You useless deadbeat. Stop messing with those stupid potatoes. A piece of paper slapped against my face. It was damp from the water on my hands and stuck to my cheek for a second. Sign it. Your 3-year contract is up. Take the 100,000 and get the hell out of the Hayes family. Just looking at you is bad luck. I wiped my face and picked up the document. Divorce papers. The compensation line was lit up with 6 figures. 100 grand for my freedom. I almost laughed out loud. 100 grand? I've given signing bonuses bigger than that. When I used to throw money around for fun, I could have buried her in it. But on the outside, I had to play the part. I squeezed out a pathetic, dopey smile, even stooping a little. Mom, what? What's all this about? Everything's fine. Fine? What's fine? Carol's spittle practically sprayed my face. Ava must have had some seriously bad karma to end up with you. What can you do besides freeload, you loser? Just sign it. Now. Right in the middle of her tirade, the door opened. My wife, Ava Hayes, was home. She was in a sharply tailored black pantsuit, her beautiful face cold enough to cause frostbite. The ruthless CEO the world saw. But today, she looked worse than usual. There was a bone-deep weariness in her eyes she couldn't hide, the kind of exhaustion you see on someone whose world is about to collapse. Carol's face changed in an instant. She scurried over to her daughter. Ava, perfect timing. Make this loser sign the papers. Ava didn't even look at her mom. Her gorgeous, ice-cold eyes locked onto me. Her voice as crisp and sharp as cracking ice. Alex. Yeah, honey. What's up? I answered immediately. She took a deep breath, like she was steeling herself. You've seen the agreement. If you sign it and walk away for good, on top of the 100,000 my mom mentioned, I'll personally give you an additional. She paused, and a number left her perfect lips that made even my eyebrows twitch. $10 million. The kitchen went dead silent. Carol's eyes were wide as dinner plates. She probably never imagined her daughter would be willing to drop that kind of cash. 10 million? A severance package. Something clicked in my head. This wasn't right. Ava despised me. Sure, but she wasn't an idiot with money. To be in such a rush to throw a fortune at me just to make me disappear. Her company had to be in serious trouble. The kind of trouble that was driving her to the brink of insanity. I tapped my finger on the papers, then looked up, plastering on the standard issue goofy smile of a professional loser. Mom, Ava, this number. Are you sure you didn't miss a zero? It looks kind of weird. Carol nearly had a stroke. You money-grubbing parasite. Have you lost your mind? 10 million isn't enough for you. Ava's brow furrowed, the disgust in her eyes deepening. She probably thought I was a lost cause, human garbage. I ignored my mother-in-law's screeching and fixed my gaze on Ava, letting the dumb smile fade. My voice was even casual. Is the company in trouble? Just that one question. The kitchen, which had been a war zone a second ago, fell into a deep, unnerving silence. Carol's mouth was hanging open, the next insult stuck in her throat. Ava's head snapped up. In her beautiful eyes, for just a split second, there was a flash of pure, unadulterated shock and panic. It was only for a second, but I saw it. She was terrified. I knew I was right. Bingo. The next moment, Carol reacted like a cat whose tail had been stomped on, lunging at me. Trouble with your mom. It's none of your damn business. How dare you jinx our company, you curse. Sign it. Sign the papers right now and get out. She snatched the agreement from my hand and threw it at me again. I didn't flinch. The edge of the paper scraped my chin. It stung a little. Looking at my furious mother-in-law and my wife's suddenly panicked expression, I chuckled to myself. Get out. Things were just starting to get interesting. The awkward tension in the house hadn't even had a chance to dissipate when the doorbell rang. Carol ran to get it, her face transforming into a smile as fake as a $3 bill. Oh, Kyle, darling. Come in. You shouldn't have, really. I craned my neck to see. Well, look at that. It was Kyle Jensen, dressed to the nines like a peacock in mating season. His hair was so gelled a fly would slip and break a leg, and he was carrying several bags from high-end boutiques. This clown was my #1 rival for Ava's affection, not that he had a chance. He'd been chasing her for years, throwing his family's money around like it was confetti. You're too kind, Carol. Just a little something for you and Ava, to help you de-stress. Kyle's voice was so slick you could fry an egg on it. His eyes slid right past me, latching onto Ava as she came downstairs. Kyle, what are you doing here? Ava frowned, though her tone was polite enough. She was so stressed out, she probably didn't have the energy to deal with him. I heard your company ran into a little snag. I couldn't just sit by and do nothing. Kyle handed the gifts to Carol, puffing out his chest like a savior. It's just that supplier from Northwood cutting you off, right? Not a big deal. Their CEO is an old friend of my dad's. One phone call from me, and it's handled. Carol's eyes lit up. Oh, Kyle, you're amazing. So capable. Not like some deadbeats who just sit around eating our food. As she said it, she shot daggers at me with her eyes. I was squatting in the corner trying to figure out what to make for dinner when her roar came. Alex, are you dead? We have a guest. What are you just standing there for? Go make Mr. Jensen some tea. You have no manners at all. On it, Mom. I scrambled to the kitchen to make tea. As I poured the water, I kept my ears open. A supplier issue? That's it? I thought the world was ending. Old man Roberts from Northwood, right? Kyle was probably still playing with Legos when Roberts used to beg me to go drinking with him. I brought the tea out, a big smile plastered on my face. Mr. Jensen, your tea. Kyle shot me a sideways glance, a smirk playing on his lips. As he took the cup, his wrist accidentally twitched. A wave of scalding hot tea splashed right onto my pants. Oh, so sorry, Alex, Kyle said, his voice dripping with false sincerity, his eyes dancing with amusement. Didn't burn you, did I? You really should be more careful. Carol immediately jumped to his defense. Kyle, are you all right? Did you burn your hand? It's all this idiot's fault. He's so clumsy. Alex, apologize to Mr. Jensen right now. I cursed him out in my head, but on my face was pure panic. Oh my God. Hot. I jumped around frantically, pretending I was going to wipe myself off, but my hand slipped and sent the other untouched glass of ice water on the coffee table flying. Splash. Not a drop was wasted. The entire glass of water soaked the front of Kyle's ridiculously expensive tailored pants in a rather unfortunate spot. Kyle let out a yelp and shot up, his face turning a shade of green. I'm so sorry. So sorry, Mr. Jensen. I didn't mean to. I bowed and scraped, trying my best not to bust out laughing. I see your pants are wet, too. Here, let me get that for you. I grabbed a random dishcloth and made a move toward his pants. Get away from me. Kyle shoved me, his face as dark as thunder. His carefully crafted image was in ruins. Ava rubbed her temples, looking exhausted. That's enough, both of you. Kyle forced his anger down, turning back to Ava with a look of deep concern. Ava, this is too complicated to discuss over the phone. How about this? I've booked a table at the Spire tonight. We can talk through the details over dinner. I promise. I'll get this sorted out for you. Ava was clearly hesitant. She couldn't stand Kyle, but the crisis at her company was suffocating her. Carol jumped in. Go. You have to go. Kyle is being so sincere. Ava, just say yes. Ava was silent for a few seconds before finally giving a reluctant nod. Fine. I'll see you tonight. Kyle's face lit up with triumph. He shot me a smug, challenging look. Carol, seizing the moment, pointed a finger at my nose. You, don't bother eating at home tonight. I heard the Spire is looking for some part-time help. You can go over there and give their restrooms a good scrubbing. Stop being a freeloader for one night. Making me go scrub toilets at their date. The woman's talent for humiliation was truly next level. My smile was brighter than the sun as I readily agreed. You got it, Mom. I'll make those toilets so clean you can see your reflection in them. That night, I showed up at the Spire, just as ordered. I had to admit, the place was fancy. Low lighting, smooth jazz, everyone dressed to the nines. And then there was me, in a blindingly bright orange janitor's uniform, pushing a cleaning cart. I stuck out like a clown at a funeral. My mother-in-law was a woman of her word. I have no idea who she called, but she'd actually got me a gig scrubbing their toilets. Well, it was a unique way to experience a new career path. I slowly polished an already gleaming marble column, my eyes scanning the room. It didn't take long to find them. A table by the window. Kyle was talking a mile a minute, and Ava was sitting across from him, her brow so furrowed you could lose a coin in it. Pushing my trusty cart, I ambled closer, pretending to wipe down a decorative vase nearby. Kyle's bragging voice drilled right into my ears. Ava, don't you worry. Roberts is a done deal. One word from me. However, he changed his tune, letting the catch slip out. The Jensen family is a little tight on cash flow right now. A direct investment would be difficult. But how about this? You use your shares in the Hayes Corporation as collateral, and I'll move some money from my personal accounts to help you out. As for the interest rate, well, we can be flexible. I had to stop myself from laughing. He was trying to get her company for nothing. This wasn't a rescue mission. It was a hostile takeover disguised as a favor. The guy had no shame. Ava's face grew even colder. Kyle, those terms are a bit. Come on, Ava. In this situation, who else can help you? Kyle cut her off, smugly swirling the wine in his glass. The clock is ticking. You hesitate any longer, and the Hayes Corporation is finished. Finish my ass. I spat mentally. Seeing Ava being backed into a corner, her face pale, I decided it was time to stretch my legs. Pushing my cart and humming a little tune, my wheel accidentally caught the edge of the carpet. With a loud whoa, I stumbled and crashed right into a waiter carrying a tray of red wine. The waiter yelped, and his tray went flying. Several glasses of expensive red wine soared through the air and landed, with artistic precision, all over Kyle's pristine white suit. The splash pattern was so even, it looked like a custom tie-dye job. Damn it, my Armani. Kyle shot up like he'd been electrocuted, his face twisted in fury. The scene devolved into chaos. The waiter was on the verge of tears, apologizing profusely. Kyle was seeing red. Even Ava stood up, startled. I'm so sorry, so sorry. The floor's so slippery. I lost my balance. I frantically pulled out a rag and started dabbing at Kyle's suit. Mr. Jensen, let me get that for you. Get off me. Don't touch me with that filthy rag. Kyle shoved me away, practically hyperventilating. Amidst the chaos, with everyone's attention on Kyle's new wine-colored suit, I pretended to steady myself against their table. My hand accidentally brushed against Ava's phone, which was sitting on the edge. In that split second, a tiny, folded piece of paper slid from between my fingers and tucked itself perfectly into the small gap behind her phone case. Mission accomplished. I went back to bowing and apologizing to Kyle until the restaurant manager came and dragged me away, yelling at me the whole time. I'm just a clumsy janitor, after all. Ava looked from the enraged Kyle to me, being berated by the manager with a terrified look on my face. She subconsciously reached for her phone. The little piece of paper fell out. She paused, picked it up with a confused look, and unfolded it. On it was a single name, Arthur Vance, and a phone number. That was the real power behind the Northwood Supplier Group. Old Man Roberts' uncle, a reclusive titan of industry who held all the real power. The Roberts that Kyle knew wouldn't dare breathe wrong in this man's presence. Ava's head snapped up, her sharp gaze locking onto me. I was still nodding and bowing to the manager, the perfect picture of a hapless fool. It all looked like a complete accident. She looked down at the note, then back at me, her beautiful eyes filled with a profound, swirling confusion. This loser, how could he possibly know that name? Ava got home late that night. She looked strange. Every time she glanced at me, her eyes would dart away. I was in the living room, munching on an apple, when she finally walked over, her voice low. Alex, that note at the restaurant. Where did you get it? I blinked, my face a mask of innocence. What note? Honey, I turn everything I find when I'm cleaning. Did someone drop a tip? She stared at me for a few seconds, searching my face for any crack in the facade, but eventually just shook her head with a frown. It's nothing. The next day, probably figuring she had nothing to lose, she called the number. To her shock, the old man on the other end was surprisingly friendly. He heard she was Daniel Hayes' sister. Yep, my old army buddy's name still carried weight. Without a second thought, Arthur Vance not only agreed to resume the supply line, but offered her a long-term contract at a rate well below market value. When Ava hung up the phone, she was in a complete daze, staring at her phone like it was haunted. The crisis that had been torturing her for weeks was just gone. Sitting in her office, she couldn't stop the image of me clumsily knocking over the waiter from flashing through her mind. And that note, appearing out of nowhere, it was too much of a coincidence. It was absurd. Impossible. She shook her head, trying to banish the ridiculous thought. I must be overthinking it. How could he possibly know someone like Arthur Vance? It must have been Kyle's connection that indirectly helped, or maybe it was just luck. Yes, that was it. It had to be luck. She forced herself to believe it. When she got home that evening, Carol had already heard the good news and was beaming. See, I told you Kyle was incredible. One phone call, and he fixed everything. He's a godsend to this family. She conveniently forgot about the note and gave Kyle all the credit. Ava opened her mouth to say something, but then her eyes fell on me, mopping the floor in the corner, and she swallowed her words. She couldn't explain it either. Just then, Kyle called, his voice oozing with self-satisfaction. Ava, how about that? See? Roberts gave me face. I'm glad it's all resolved. How about we go out and celebrate tonight? Ava's tone was complicated, but she was still polite. Thank you, Kyle, but maybe next time. She couldn't bring herself to steal the credit, but she didn't deny it either. Carol snatched the phone. Kyle, honey, thank you so much. I'll have to thank you properly another day. Oh, you're so talented and successful. After hanging up, she caught sight of me and her face soured. Look at Kyle, and then look at you. All you do is eat and sleep. Get out of the way. I put down the mop, rubbing my hands together as I sidled up to them with a goofy grin. Mom, Ava, listen. Since the company crisis is over, you could say I kind of helped, right? They both stared at me. My face was a picture of sincerity. I scrubbed the toilets at that restaurant. So clean the manager was singing my praises. If I hadn't been there cleaning, who knows if you would have had this good luck. So, about my allowance this month. Think I could get a little bump? Nothing crazy, just an extra $500. Carol stared at me for a second, then exploded, grabbing a feather duster. Help yourself to my last nerve. You want a reward for scrubbing a toilet? The nerve. Go do the dishes. And if they're not all done, you're not sleeping tonight. You got it, Mom. Right away. I dodged her swing and scurried into the kitchen. Humming a tune as I washed the dishes, my eyes darted around. Suddenly, I noticed something in the trash can. Shredded pieces of paper with the Jensen Corp logo. My heart skipped a beat. When no one was looking, I quietly fished the scraps out and stuffed them in my pocket. Later that night, locked in the bathroom, I patiently pieced the confetti together. It wasn't all there, but a few keywords jumped out. Hayes Corp supply chain, short, acquisition proposal. Heh, that son of a bitch, Kyle. So it wasn't just a shakedown. His family was one of the masterminds behind the whole crisis. They wanted to play dirty, did they? I took a picture of the reassembled document, then flushed the evidence. Saturday morning, my sister-in-law, Chloe, started banging on my door. Alex, are you dead in there? If not, get up. I opened the door, my hair a mess. What's up, Chloe? Hungry? I can make you some ramen. Ramen? Please. She looked me up and down with disgust. Go change into something that doesn't look like you found it in a dumpster. Then you're taking me to the Grand Astoria Hotel on that pathetic little scooter of yours. What for? I yawned. My alumni reunion. It's a high-class event, you get it. She rolled her eyes, then her tone turned smug. My new boyfriend is going to be there. His family is in oil. And you can be his backdrop. Let him see the quality of our domestic help. Great. A stepping stone again. I grinned. You got it. I'll make him look like a king, guaranteed. I chugged along on my electric scooter, which rattled everywhere except the bell, with a dolled-up Chloe on the back. We pulled up to the five-star Grand Astoria, where the valet looked at us like we were panhandlers. Inside, the ballroom was glittering, full of young people dressed to the nines. Chloe immediately ditched me, running to a beefy guy wearing a gold chain so thick it looked like a boat anchor. Rick. Her voice was so sickeningly sweet it made my skin crawl. Rick wrapped an arm around her and eyed me. Who's this? Your driver? Why is he dressed like he just came from Walmart? A few girls nearby snickered. I glanced over, and what do you know, 2 of them were ex-girlfriends who dumped me back when I was broke. Well, if it isn't Alex. Look at you now, delivering for DoorDash. Chloe, is your family really letting anyone in these days? Even people like him? Chloe's face went red, and she shot me a death glare. Stay away from me. Don't be embarrassing. I just chuckled and found a corner to grab some appetizers. You do you, I'll do me. Then, the organizers started a charity auction, selling a bunch of useless, overpriced junk. Rick, trying to show off, dropped several thousand on a tacky vase. Suddenly, the hostess brought out the next item. An old, black motorcycle helmet, the paint slightly chipped with a long, distinct scratch down the side. The auctioneer sounded bored. This is a vintage helmet donated anonymously. We'll start the bidding at, let's say, $50. A ripple of laughter went through the crowd. $50 for that piece of junk? But I shot bolt upright. That helmet, that was the helmet I wore back in the day when my life was on the line. That scratch, I got that taking a hit from my buddy, Daniel Hayes, Ava's brother. What was it doing here? Rick saw my expression and decided he could humiliate me further. Hey, that piece of trash really suits some people here, he yelled, pointing at me. Yo, delivery boy, that helmet's perfect for you. You can wear it on your little scooter. Ha ha ha. I ignored him and raised my hand. 50. Rick laughed even harder. You really want it? Broke ass. I'll bet 100, just so you can't have it. 200. My voice was a little colder. 500. Rick countered. 1,000. 2,000. He was just trying to screw with me now, and the crowd was eating it up. The price, thanks to this idiot, climbed all the way to $30,000. 30 grand for an old helmet. The entire room thought we were both insane. Rick looked at me smugly. What's the matter, broke ass? Can't keep up? Why don't you get on your knees and beg, and maybe I'll buy it for you as a gift. Chloe and her friends were howling with laughter. I looked at him, and suddenly I smiled. Slowly, I pulled out my ancient, beat-up Blackburner phone from my pocket. As everyone watched, confused, I calmly dialed the number and put it on speaker. The phone rang for a while before a groggy, middle-aged voice answered, sounding annoyed. Yeah, who is this? It's early. I held the phone up. My voice as casual as if I were ordering a pizza. Sal, move some cash for me. I'm buying something. The moment I said move some cash, the entire ballroom fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Rick froze for a second, then burst out laughing even louder. Ha ha. Keep pretending. You're going to call for backup on that relic? What's next? You're going to tell us you know the president. His cronies and my exes joined in, looking at me like I was a circus clown. Chloe was so mad her face was pale. She rushed over to pull me away. Alex, have you lost your mind? Aren't you embarrassed enough? Get out of here. Just then, the auctioneer's cell phone rang on the podium. He glanced at it, annoyed, but when he saw the caller ID, his face went white. He quickly answered, bowing slightly. Yes. Yes, sir. Hello. What? Are you serious? Yes. Yes. I understand. Beads of sweat popped out on his forehead as he nodded profusely. When he hung up, his hands were shaking. He took a deep breath, grabbed the microphone, his voice trembling with an excitement he couldn't contain. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just received an urgent message from the Foundation's board of directors. Every eye in the room snapped to him. An anonymous gentleman, in support of tonight's charitable cause, has decided. He swallowed hard, practically shouting the next words, to donate in Mr. Alex's name 10 times the final bid for the helmet, and will make an additional donation to the foundation of $5 million. The grand total of the donation will be $300,000 plus $5 million, for a total of $5,300,000. Boom, the ballroom erupted. 10 times, 300,000 plus an extra $5 million for that beat-up old helmet. It was insane. Everyone was stunned, mouths agape, eyes bulging. The sneer on Rick's face froze, then turned a pasty white, as if he'd been slapped across the face. The wine glasses in my ex-girlfriend's hands clattered to the floor. Into the dead silence, the tinny speaker of my old phone crackled to life with Sal's sleepy, unhurried voice. All set, boss. Money's transferred. By the way, your mother-in-law, Carol Hayes, just placed another online order for a batch of new toilet brushes. The concierge service is asking if you'd prefer the 24-karat gold-plated model or the one encrusted with diamonds. She seems to have clicked on the most expensive filter. Puffed. Someone in the back couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. I walked up to the stage, picked up the helmet, and cradled it carefully in my arms. Then I turned to the ashen-faced Rick and the rest of the petrified alumni and offered them a standard, friendly smile. Some things are priceless. This helmet is worth it. I walked over to the completely shell-shocked Chloe, who was staring into space, and patted her on the shoulder. Let's go, Chloe. Your sister's probably waiting. And with that, holding my old helmet, I strolled out of the ballroom, leaving behind a wake of silence and 1,000 shocked, confused, and utterly bewildered stares. Chloe followed me like a robot, not saying a word, not insulting me once. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the very first time. I didn't have to look back to know that the scene I'd left behind would be the talk of their social circle for the next year. Man, that reunion was totally worth it. News travels fast, probably faster than my little scooter. By the time I got a still-dazed Chloe back to the house, the atmosphere at the front door felt different. The dust from the alumni event hadn't even settled when the Hayes family matriarch called an emergency meeting. The setup looked like a Supreme Court hearing. The living room was packed, and everyone looked grim. The matriarch sat at the head of the table, thumping her cane on the floor. The Eastgate Development Project is this family's chance to get back on top. Her voice was raspy, but carried immense weight. But the initial investment is massive. We have a funding gap of at least $20 million. Who has a solution? The room was silent. 20 million? Might as well rob a bank. A cough came from the corner, and Kyle Jensen stood up, looking slick. Grandma Hayes, the Jensen family might be able to help. Carol's eyes lit up. Oh, Kyle, you're a lifesaver. Kyle shot a smug look at a pale Ava and continued. However, 20 million is no small sum. We can invest 15 million on one condition. The Jensen family gets a controlling interest in the project. 51%. That was highway robbery. The other relatives muttered amongst themselves, but no one dared to speak up. Just then, a smarmy executive named Zhao, who'd always had it out for Ava, stood up. With all due respect, matriarch, this project never should have been given to Ava in the first place. A woman can only handle so much. Look at the mess she's made. I propose we replace her immediately. A few jealous uncles chimed in. He's right. Replace her. She needs to give up her management role. Ava was shaking with anger, biting her lip. Mr. Zhao. The project was proceeding perfectly under my direction. The funding issue was an unforeseen circumstance. An unforeseen circumstance is a failure of leadership. Zhao shot back. Carol was wringing her hands. Seeing me standing nearby with a tray of water, she unleashed her frustration on me. This is all your fault, you curse. Ever since you married into this family, it's been one disaster after another. And you just stand there? Go pour Mr. Jensen some tea and apologize for embarrassing his family at that reunion. Me? How was that my fault? Kyle snorted, tilting his head back to look down his nose at me, waiting to be served. All eyes in the room turned to me, some mocking, some contemptuous, all of them waiting for the show. I looked down at the teapot in my hands and smiled. All right, tea, it is. I poured a cup of steaming hot tea, carried it respectfully over to Kyle, bowed low, and said with utmost sincerity, Mr. Jensen, I'm so sorry. It was my fault. Please forgive me. He smugly reached for the cup. The second his fingers touched it, my wrist gave an unfortunate twitch. A.R. A scream worthy of a slaughterhouse echoed through the room. Scalding tea splashed all over Kyle's hand. He leaped out of his chair, shaking his hand wildly, his face contorted in pain. I'm so sorry, Mr. Jensen. I slipped. Are you okay? I rushed forward to help, managing to slosh the rest of the teapot's contents in his direction. Kyle looked like he wanted to kill me, but couldn't completely lose his cool in front of the matriarch. He just stood there, his face purple with rage, hissing through his teeth. You did that on purpose. I wore a mask of pure, innocent panic. Inside, I was dying of laughter. At the same time, my thumb, hidden in my pocket, discreetly pressed a button on my phone, starting a secret audio recording. The phone's microphone was pointed right at Zhao and Kyle. In the chaos, no one noticed my little maneuver. The matriarch slammed her cane down. Enough. This is a disgrace. She looked at Ava, her voice cold as ice. Ava, this is your project. Do you accept Kyle's terms? If not, how will you solve the funding gap? 1 week. I'm giving you 1 week. If you can't fix this, you can step down as CEO, and the project will go to someone else. 1 week. For $20 million. This was a coup. All our relatives were practically drooling, waiting for Ava to fail. Ava's face was chalk white, her body trembling slightly. She glanced at the predatory looks of Kyle and Zhao, then at me, standing nearby with a look of concern on my face. I was trying not to laugh. Finally, she bit her lip, squared her shoulders, and stood tall. Fine. 1 week. Within 1 week, I will secure the funding. If I can't, I'll resign myself. The room was silent for a beat, then erupted in open ridicule. Ha 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 ha. 20 million? In a week? Ava, are you crazy? She's bluffing. Kyle clutched his red hand, a sinister smile on his face. Ava, why be so stubborn? It's not too late to accept my offer. Ava's fists were clenched so tight her knuckles were white. She just held her head high. I didn't say a word. I just quietly saved the recording I just made, the one where Zhao whispered to Kyle, "Don't worry, she'll never get the money. The company will be ours." The air at home was thick enough to cut with a knife. Ava was collapsed on the sofa, her face ashen, staring blankly at the ceiling. $20 million. 1 week. It was an impossible task. She knew her family was just waiting for her to crash and burn so they could kick her out of the company. Carol was pacing, muttering to herself, "It's over, it's all over. Why did you have to be so proud? Promising to do it in a week. Now you're going to lose your job. My life is ruined. It's all his fault, that damn Jinx." And with that, her glare landed on me. I quietly went to the kitchen, warmed up a glass of milk, and brought it to Ava. "Honey, drink this. It'll help." Ava didn't take it, didn't even look at me. Her voice was tired and hopeless. "Leave me alone." Carol exploded. She slapped the glass out of my hand, and it shattered on the floor, milk splashing everywhere. "Get out. This is all your fault. And you have the nerve to pretend you care? If you weren't so completely useless, would Ava be bullied like this? You're a curse. A plague." I looked at the mess on the floor, sighed, and got a cloth to clean it up. When I was done, I stood up and looked at the two of them, still on the verge of a breakdown. I cleared my throat. "So, 20 million, right?" I scratched my head. Maybe I could get a shot." The room went silent. Carol looked at me like I'd just told the funniest joke in the world. "You? Get a shot? Alex, did you hit your head? 20 million. Not $200. What are you going to do? Rob a bank? All you do is talk big, you useless loser." Ava finally turned to look at me, her expression a mix of exhaustion and the look you give a crazy person. "Alex, I'm not in the mood for jokes right now." "I'm not joking." My usual goofy grin was gone. I held up 3 fingers, my expression serious. 3 days. Give me 3 days. The money will be there. Huh, 3 days. Carol was so mad, she started to laugh. Talk is cheap, isn't it? Why don't you just say you can pull it out of a hat right now? "There are conditions, of course," I said, looking at Carol. "Mom, if I do it from now on, you have to call me by my name, Alex. No more loser or Jinx." Then I turned to Ava, a playful smirk on my lips. "And you, my dear wife, if I pull this off, you have to honor the bet. You have to go on a real date with me. Just the two of us. Dinner, a movie, the whole 9 yards." Carol completely lost it, grabbing the feathered duster again. "How dare you? Making demands. A date? I'll give you a date with this duster." But Ava stopped her. She stared into my eyes, searching for any hint that I was kidding. All she found was a strange, unshakable confidence. Seeing that kind of confidence on the face of a man who spent his days cooking, cleaning, and taking their abuse was jarring, completely absurd. She remembered the note at the restaurant. She remembered the insane $5 million donation at the reunion. Even though she had managed to rationalize each event, too many coincidences were starting to feel spooky. After a long silence, the only sound in the room was Carol's heavy breathing. Ava finally spoke, her voice laced with uncertainty and a sliver of hope she couldn't explain. "Alex, how? How are you going to do it?" "I had to make good on my promise. even if it killed me. Not that I was worried. I went to my room, which was really just a converted storage closet, and pulled out my ancient burner phone. I dialed Sal's number. Joe, boss. You decide on the toilet brush. Sal's voice was lazy, with the sound of a sports bar in the background. Forget the brush. It's business time. I lowered my voice. I need you to wire. Let's start with $50 million. From the petty cash account. You got it. Who are we taking down? Sal sounded instantly energized. International currency market. Watch the yen and the pound. Do some short-term plays. And while you're at it, short Jensen Corp stock. Just a little, to annoy them. The Jensens? That little gnat that's been buzzing around? Copy that, boss. Funds will be ready in 30. I'll make it look clean, like random day traders causing trouble. I hung up and lay back on my bed, kicking my feet up. 20 million. A small goal, really. Might as well have some fun with it. For the next 2 days, all was quiet. Whispers started circulating on Wall Street about a mysterious trader with a surgical, high-risk style who was making a killing in the international markets. There were also rumors that Jensen Corp stock was getting hammered by a series of small, targeted attacks that were causing chaos for their board. At home, Carol followed me around, muttering under her breath about how I was all talk. Ava grew quieter and quieter, her eyes following me with a look of intense curiosity. On the morning of the third day, the deadline was up. I tucked a plain debit card into my pocket and strolled over to the Hayes Corporation headquarters. As I approached the conference room, I could hear Zhao's whiny voice. Ms. Hayes, time's up. Where's the money? Where's the 20 million? If you don't have it, just do us all a favor and resign. Stop wasting our time. Kyle's voice followed, dripping with false sympathy. Ava, there's no need to drag this out. It's not too late to accept my help. We can still negotiate the terms. I pushed the door open. The room was full, family, executives, all of them waiting for the fireworks. Ava sat at the head of the table, her face pale, but her back straight as a board. Hey, what's the party? I grinned. Zhao saw me and sneered. What are you doing here, you loser? This is a private meeting. Get out. Kyle chuckled. Come to beg for your wife. I ignored them, walked to the head of the table, and tossed the generic-looking debit card into the center. It made a small clacking sound, but it was enough to silence the room. Run the numbers. I pulled up a chair and yawned. 20 million. A little more, actually. Hurry it up. I have to go grocery shopping for Mom. Everyone stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Zhao was the first to recover, scoffing. Alex, are you insane? You think you can fool us with some random debit card? Does it even have $200 on it? Kyle slammed his hand on the table, laughing. Ha ha ha. Ms. Hayes, I think your husband has finally cracked under the pressure. Should I call a psychiatric hospital for you? Ava looked at me, her lips parted, her eyes filled with disappointment and a flicker of anger. Alex, that's enough. Get out. The CFO looked around nervously, then at Zhao's nod. He reluctantly picked up the card. I'll just check it. Check it. Let's see him squirm. Zhao crowed. The CFO turned to his laptop connected to the bank's portal and typed in the card number. The only sound in the room was the clicking of keys. Suddenly, he made a strange noise. He shot upright in his chair, his eyes glued to the screen. His fingers trembled as he typed something else. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He looked up, his face white as a sheet, his voice cracking as he looked from me to Ava. Ms. Hayes, the account balance is $21,385,046.80. Boom, the room exploded. How much? 21 million. That's impossible. Zhao shoved the CFO out of the way to look at the screen himself, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. He just kept muttering, impossible. That's absolutely impossible. The smile on Kyle's face was frozen in place, his expression turning a sickly green, as if someone had him in a chokehold. Ava shot to her feet, staring at me, her beautiful eyes a whirlwind of shock, confusion, and a complex emotion I had never seen there before. I met everyone's gaze and stretched lazily. Oh, it's a little over? No big deal. You can use the extra for the office coffee fund. Ava Hayes, for all her icy demeanor, was a woman of her word. She said we'd go on a date, and we did. That weekend, she picked me up in her car. She was still in her work clothes, making it feel more like a business meeting. I plopped down in the passenger seat. Honey, It's a date, not a corporate merger. You trying to buy out the amusement park? She shot me a look, but I saw the tips of her ears turn red. Her plan was to go to some fancy revolving restaurant, but I vetoed it. What's the fun in that? It's overpriced, and you leave hungry. I got a better idea. I gave her directions, and soon we were pulling up to a street fair, buzzing with life and smelling of 100 different delicious things. Ms. CEO stood on the curb, looking at the plastic chairs and sizzling food trucks with a deep frown. Alex, you brought me to a place like this. It's got character, I said, trying to take her hand. She stiffly pulled it away and leading her to a barbecue stand. Hey, boss, we'll take some kebabs, ribs, corn on the cob, all of it, and 2 cold beers. While we waited for the food, I spotted a claw machine. I went and got 10 tokens. Watch the master at work. Ava stood with her arms crossed, an expression on her face that said, I can't wait to see you fail. 10 tokens later, I had 5 stuffed animals sitting on the table. The guy running the booth was staring at me like I was a magician. I handed her the ugliest one, a green frog with googly eyes. Here, a token of my affection. She looked down at the ugly frog, and then a real, genuine laugh escaped her lips. She tried to stifle it, but for a second, the ice queen melted, and she was dazzling. As we ate, she started to relax, taking small sips of her beer while I devoured everything in sight. You know, I said casually, gnawing on a rib, it's a crazy world. Some people pretend to help you, but they're really just waiting to stab you in the back. Like that snake, Kyle Jensen. She paused mid-bite. I kept rambling. And that slime ball, Zhao, isn't any better. The other day, when I was taking out the trash, I think I overheard a phone call. Something about shorting stocks, a hostile takeover. I don't know. I can't remember. But I definitely heard them mention the Jensen family. Ava put down her beer, her expression instantly turning serious, her eyes sharp as knives. Alex, who did you hear? Where? What exactly did they say? I played dumb. Huh. Oh, I don't know. I was just passing by. Probably misheard. Here, have some more corn. But this was Ava Hayes. Her business instincts were razor sharp. My few offhand remarks, combined with Kyle's aggressive push for control and Zhao's attempted coup, suddenly clicked into place for her. She shot to her feet, forgetting all about the food, and started making a call. Her voice was calm and decisive. Yes, Sarah, I need you to run a discreet, internal audit of all secondary market capital flows related to our current projects for the past 2 weeks. Focus on any accounts with ties to Jensen Corp. Yes, I need it fast and I need it quiet. After she hung up, she looked at me, still happily eating, her expression a mix of shock, fear, and something else. Gratitude? Alex, thank you. For what? I was just talking, I said with a goofy smile, handing her a grilled mushroom. Eat up before it gets cold. She sat back down and, without a word of complaint, started eating. We didn't talk much after that, but for the first time, the silence wasn't awkward. When we were done, I proudly paid the bill. It was less than $100. We walked slowly down the street through the crowds and the lights. You know, this is actually kind of nice, she said softly. See, way better than some stuffy restaurant. I said, puffed up with pride. She smiled again, a real smile this time. Just then, I caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye. Across the street, in a dark alleyway, a figure quickly pulled back, but not before I saw the glint of a camera lens. Well, we had a tail. I kept my expression neutral and continued joking with her, but inside I was sneering. Go ahead, take all the pictures you want. They'll make great evidence. Ava moved with terrifying speed. With my little hint as a starting point, her team of elite lawyers and accountants worked around the clock. Following the trail of short sales and suspicious capital flows, they quickly uncovered the entire conspiracy. The next evening, she burst into my room, her face flushed with anger, clutching a stack of papers. Alex, they're despicable. She slammed the papers on my desk. Kyle and Zhao were working together. They used inside information to short our stock and planned to swallow the project whole. It's all here in black and white. I glanced at the papers. It was a solid case. Bank transfers, email chains, even a grainy audio recording she must have acquired somehow. Standard operating procedure. I mumbled through a mouthful of apple. She ignored me, gritting her teeth. I'm taking this to my grandmother and the board right now. What's the rush? I stopped her. This is enough to embarrass them, but it won't destroy them. If you're going to strike a snake, you aim for the head. She stared at me. What else do you know? I gave her a mysterious smile, pulled out my burner phone, and stepped out onto the balcony. Sal, I need you to dig up all the Jensen family's dirty laundry. Tax evasion, illegal assets, all of Kyle's father's shady deals. Yeah, all of it. I want ironclad proof, a full dossier. And while you're at it, find a way to make their lives difficult, starting now. I could hear Sal's grin over the phone. Consider done. I hear that shipment of seafood they have at the docks might have some irregularities. Should I have a friend at customs take a closer look? You know what to do, I said and hung up. Ava was staring at me like I was an alien. Oh, who are you talking to? Just a friend, I said. He's in sales. Knows a lot of people. Apparently, Kyle and Zhao got wind that we were onto them because they got desperate. 2 days later, Ava was driving home late from the office. On a quiet stretch of road, 2 black sedans swerved and boxed her in. Several masked men jumped out and started trying to pry open her car doors. Ava was terrified, her face pale as she frantically hit the locks. Just as one of them was about to smash her window, a half a brick came flying out of a nearby construction site and connected squarely with the back of his head. Oof! The guy went down hard. The others froze. Who was that? Just then, an old man in shabby clothes, me, in a very smelly disguise, came bursting out of an alley, pushing a shopping cart full of cans. He tripped, and the cart tipped over, sending a cascade of sticky, half-empty soda cans and other garbage spilling all over the thugs. Ugh, what the hell is this? You're dead, old man. The thugs, now covered in garbage, turned on me. I stumbled back in terror, my hand reaching into my cart and pulling out a bottle of homemade pepper spray, brewed with ghost peppers. I let them have it. Ack, my eyes. I can't breathe. It burns. They stumbled around, screaming and clutching their faces. In the chaos, a pack of stray dogs, attracted by the smell of leftover food on the thugs, appeared out of nowhere and started nipping at their heels. Get off me, you mutts. Help! They're biting me. It was a scene of pure, beautiful chaos. Ava was watching from her car, completely stunned. I took the opportunity to run to her window and knock. Honey, you okay? These guys have no respect. Littering, bullying animals. I had to do something. Ava, still in shock, looked from me to the thugs being chased by dogs, her expression one of utter disbelief. The sound of sirens grew closer. The thugs panicked, scrambled back into their cars, and sped off. I opened her door. She got out, her legs still shaky, and stared at me, her lips trembling. Alex, you. I put a steadying hand on her arm, my playful demeanor gone. I looked in the direction the thugs had fled, and my eyes grew cold. It's time to end this. The matriarch's birthday gala, which doubled as a celebration for the project's success, was an extravagant affair. Crystal chandeliers cast a blinding light on a crowd of people in expensive clothes, all wearing fake smiles. The hypocrisy was suffocating. Kyle and his father were there, looking as smug as ever, as if the attempted kidnapping had never happened. Zhao followed them around like a puppy. Carol and Chloe were fawning over Kyle's father. Mr. Jensen, your presence here truly honors us. Kyle, holding a glass of champagne, strolled over to where Ava and I were standing. His eyes were venomous. Ava, don't think you're safe just because the project is funded. Things are never that simple. Ava was unusually calm. She just stared at him, saying nothing. After a few toasts, Kyle tapped his glass, getting everyone's attention. Grandma Hayes, everyone, he announced, then pointed a dramatic finger at me. I have to expose a conspiracy tonight. The funding for the Hayes project came from a questionable source. I have reason to believe that Ava and this deadbeat husband of hers colluded with outside forces, using illegal means to secure that money. That $20 million is dirty. Zhao immediately jumped in. He's right. I can vouch for that. They must have sold company secrets. The room erupted in gasps. Carol nearly fainted. Kyle, you can't just say things like that. The matriarch's face darkened. Ava, what is the meaning of this? Kyle looked at me, a triumphant smirk on his face. He thought he had me, but Ava simply stepped forward and took a USB drive from her purse. Grandma, members of the board, If you want to see who's really been colluding to damage this company, please direct your attention to the screen. The massive screen behind them lit up with all the evidence she had gathered. Emails between Kyle and Zhao, bank records, stock shorting logs. It was all there, undeniable. The color drained from Kyle's and Zhao's faces. That's all fake, Kyle shrieked. Fake, Ava said with a cold smile. Should I call the bank managers and brokers to confirm? Just then, the grand ballroom doors burst open. A man in a sharp black suit, Sal, looking surprisingly clean, walked in flanked by several serious-looking individuals with federal ID badges clipped to their lapels. A few intimidating men in dark suits brought up the rear. Mr. Jensen, Mr. Zhao, Sal said with a polite but chilling smile, holding up a stack of official-looking documents. An investigation has found that Jensen Corp is involved in significant tax evasion, illegal international fund transfers, and securities fraud. This is a warrant to freeze your assets and a summons for questioning. Please come with us. He then turned to Zhao. And you, sir, are being investigated for corporate espionage and embezzlement. You need to come along as well. Kyle's father's legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the floor. Kyle's face was a deathly white, his eyes bloodshot. He whipped around and pointed at me, his voice cracking. It was you. You did all of this. Who the hell are you? Every single person in that room turned to look at me. I slowly straightened the collar of my faded t-shirt, took a step forward, and looked at the broken man before me. I gave him a small, simple smile. Me? I'm Ava Hayes' husband, Alex. My voice was quiet, but it landed like a slap across Kyle's face. Sal's people didn't waste any time. They hauled away the catatonic Kyle, Zhao, and Kyle's father. The ballroom was dead silent. Carol and Chloe were staring, their mouths hanging open, their eyes wide as they looked from me to the departing procession. Their entire world had just been shattered. The matriarch leaned on her cane, gave me a long, hard look, and then let out a slow sigh, saying nothing. I took Ava's hand. She was still in a daze. Come on, honey. Let's go home. The food here sucks compared to the street fare. With the Jensens out of the picture and Zhao in jail, the crisis was over. The Hayes Corporation, with Ava at the helm, was more successful than ever. And the atmosphere at home, well, it got weird. Carol, who used to look at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe, now smiled whenever she saw me. It was a stiff, unnatural, terrifying smile. Alex? What would you like for lunch? I can go to the store. She'd ask, wringing her hands, the word mom tripping awkwardly off her tongue when she referred to herself. Whatever you want is fine, Mom. I'd say from the couch, not looking up from the TV. Okay, great, she'd say, relieved, practically tripping over her own feet to get to the kitchen. Chloe was even worse. She'd become my personal hype man. Alex, I peeled an orange for you. Alex, are you playing that game? Let me buy you some upgrades. Alex, were you like a secret agent or something? You have to teach me your ways. I just shoo her away. Go to your homework. I'm not a secret agent. I'm a house husband. She'd just giggle, her eyes full of stars. And Ava, well, she finally stopped looking at me like I was a stranger. Her gaze was soft now, filled with curiosity and a new, gentle reliance. One night, as we were curled up on the couch, she rested her head on my shoulder and asked softly, Alex, who were you before all this? I pulled out my phone and showed her the old, worn picture I kept saved. It was of two young men in army fatigues, their arms slung around each other's shoulders, grinning from ear to ear. One was me. The other was her brother, Daniel. This, I said, pointing to Daniel, is my biggest secret. He saved my life. I promised him I'd look after you, protect you, make sure no one ever hurt you. Ava looked at the picture, and her eyes welled up. She traced her brother's face with her finger. She didn't ask any more questions. She just held onto my arm a little tighter and whispered, Thank you. Life mostly went back to the way it was. I did the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, but it was completely different. The butcher who used to ignore me now saved me the best cuts of meat. Alex, my man, got the prime rib right here for you. The security guard at our gate gave me a crisp salute. Mr. Hayes, have a good day, sir. My ex-girlfriends saw me from a block away and crossed the street. No one ever called me a loser again. One day, I was in the kitchen trying a new recipe when my old burner phone rang. Boss, Sal's voice boomed. That diamond-encrusted toilet brush you wanted. It just arrived from Switzerland. 108 flawless diamonds, hand-set by a master craftsman. It's blinding. Should I have it sent over? I nearly dropped my spatula. Send it back. Send it back right now, you idiot. What are you trying to do? Bankrupt me. You can't scrub a toilet with that thing. You'd scratch the porcelain. Oh, what about the solid gold one? No, I'm perfectly happy with the $9.99 special from Target. If you buy one more ridiculous thing, I'm docking your pay. I hung up, muttering to myself as I went back to cooking. Ava came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, her voice full of laughter. Who was that? Sending you more strange gifts? Nobody. Just an idiot. I said, plating the food. Dinner's ready. I made your favorite sweet and sour pork. Life, I decided, was better when it was simple. Of course, it would be even better if my mother-in-law would stop secretly buying me those light-up trophies that said world's greatest son-in-law. Man, my life is so hard. End.